The other question that I have, especially, saying that your dad's so in need in the community, and he
Yeah.
didn't think about, money. He just thought about, I need to help. I have the will, the power. Why not? And that's a beautiful thing that I even experienced in Cuba. So when you come here, you see so much differentness that you're like, how can I do, But this question is how you ever experience any labeling from being Latina, and how do you overcome that, especially in the military side
Yeah.
of it. There's so many labels and all that.
So for me, not so much a label, but more so assumptions, right? Like, for example, funny you would mention the military. So in the military, immediately they would take away the second last name. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I have two last names. I have a mom. And they didn't understand that. And I'm like, oh, you people, you people want to carry two last names. I'm like, okay, whatever. Sure, let's make it just Torres. So that was one of the things that I experienced in the military. As far as labeling, I can tell you, when we first came here, somehow there was not an opportunity for me to go in the ESOL program. My English was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And, I took it as an opportunity and saw it as okay, good, I'm going to learn English quicker. And you could see the big difference between my brother and I. We are 11 months apart. He was placed in an ESOL program. I was not. And let me tell you.
He has an accent.
Oh, yes. He has a very heavy accent, and I do not. So in my school, some of the things, I will never forget this time that I was asking, I was always afraid because I wasn't sure if I should say something just because I wasn't sure if I was going to mention it right. And the one story that I will never forget, if you remember here in schools, everything is done on a separate stack of papers. You know what I'm talking about? So not necessarily notebooks. In Puerto Rico, everything is in a notebook. Loose paper, that's not a thing. And I remember a teacher asking and saying, no, you cannot do this in your notebook. I understood that. And then she said to me, well, just ask someone to give you one. And I turn around and I go, can I please have a sheet of paper? Let me tell you, that was a moment that from that point forward, I was called that head for a long time because they, and it was a joke. People learn my charisma and niceness and friends. So I had friends. They were not mean in any way, but I remember that being a joke that every time they would see me, oh, there goes head, right? Because I didn't say sheet of paper correctly,
That would have happened to me. It happens to me all the time.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
My husband knows. I asked about this brand, this dog type that I wanted. And I go, oh, these dogs don't shed. And Jeremy's like,
you mean shed?
You mean shed? I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The hair. He's like, Gia, it's not shed. You just said that he's shed. And let's not go there because I'm probably going to mess it up again. But it's just like that.
Yeah.
We just learn how to let it go. So it doesn't affect our heart. We're like, well, it is what it is, and we just let it go. But that again showed you a fighter spirit in us.
Yeah.
But
you let it slide. Now, here's the interesting thing. So almost a reverse of your question, because I always had the light eyes and the light skin. I always get the question, are you mixed? Why do I have to be mixed? Our culture is mixed. So that was, in a way, for me, profiling in the sense that they expected me to be dark skinned. They expected me to have dark eyes. They expected me to be more of what they consider to be, again, all education, all assumptions. So it would be almost the reverse. I would get asked all the time, well, are you mixed? And I was like, no, I am not. I am truly 100% Puerto Rican. So if we were to look at any labeling, that would be the one question that I would get all the time. Yeah.
Just because they're not used to it. And it's lack of acknowledgement, lack of education of what it is. Yeah. I had the same thing. Even it happened to me one time in Spain. We were at this show, a flamenco show. I was so upset because it was the four of us, and the server comes and he said, oh, where are you guys from? And it was Yuri, it was his wife, it was Jeremy and I. So they're from Peru. She's from Puerto Rico. And I said, I'm from Cuba. The guy looked at me. It's like, you're Cuban? And I'm like, yes. Why do you expect Cuban to have light eyes and lighter skin? Well, this is your real mulata, which is mixed. And all Cubans don't have light eyes and blonde hair and all that. That's a mixture.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't believe, and I'm like, and because of you guys, coming to my island and mixing it, this beautiful color came out. So it's just all the time.
Yes.
It's just what people are used to it, and it's just up to us with kindness. I think the biggest outcome to those questions or those things is just giving it with kindness.
Yes.
You know what? Do you understood, or let me give you a little bit history, because a lot of time people are afraid even to ask.
Yes.
And they take those assumptions. So
Yeah.
I love that.